We're going to start off talking about a little bit of the creation story, right? We've been taught, throughout schooling at least, that Native Americans, where did they come from? They came across the Bering Strait maybe a few thousand years ago. Some scientists are saying 30,000 years ago. We're being taught these theories. But I'm wondering for Amin, when you were taught about where you came from, what were you taught?
We're from the land. Our people are from here. If any of you know about Atlantis was an island, and our people were from there and from Turtle Island, which you currently are on right now, which we call United States, or the US of America.
Growing up, I was taught not the creation story that Amin is sharing a little bit about Turtle Island. Next slide, Jeff. I've been taught about history starting here. Okay, so this is a map. You might have seen this. This is a map of settlements happening up and down the coast. And we're not just talking about the east coast of the United States, we're also talking about settlements happening in Central America and right around the waterways of the Great Lakes. That's not actually what's going on at the time of settlement. And that's where the history and the tension is starting to come from. Because before this, next slide, Jeff, before this we have this map. This map is showing the fluidity of Native people who are inhabiting this land before settlements were occurring. So if you look down here, we've got Choctaw in the southeast. I'm just naming a couple of tribes. Arapaho in the plains. We have the Iroquois and the Six Nations tribes still living in the New York area, right? Great Lakes. I met Amin right up here in Ojibwe territory. And you notice the lines are different? Your mindset is different when you know you're connected to everything. Is someone in the front, does someone in the front speak Spanish? Okay, do you want to translate, or I can, but yeah. So would you mind reading this sign and translating?
Ningún ser humano es ilegal.
Can you tell them what it means?
Nobody's illegal.
No human is illegal. Amin, from your position, what do you think of that sign?
I believe in it 100%. I believe that any human being should be allowed the necessities of life. And imaginary lines should not keep you from those things that you've had traditionally for thousands of years.
So increasingly there are walls across the globe and across the US. We are living not like this. We are living in really defined territories. We are living in states. We are living in lines between Mexico and the US, Canada and the US. Over in the four corners, you can touch all four states at the same time. There are lines everywhere. Who are we to draw these lines? This is what was happening before settlement happened. People are living here. Real people who had their own land base, who had their own culture, who were governing themselves, who were their own native nations, who had distinct languages between them, and trade and economics. You guys, real people lived here way before settlement, and genocide happened at a huge rate. Check out this sign. Over 15 million acres of Indian territory, the Grand Land Rush. This was a real thing. We aren't just killing people and then settling on this land. No, the land was being taken or it was being ceded. Native nations, out of stark pressure from colonists or settlers, ceded over land territory in order for others to settle it, as if it weren't already settled. And I'm talking millions of people, y'all. I'm not talking like 2 million. I'm talking millions and millions of people across this huge country were already here and either killed or pushed into these small reservation territories.
Over 90 million.
Take a moment, turn to the person next to you, and try to name as many tribes as you can. How many did you get to? Can someone just shout out a number? How many did you get to? 3, 4, 1? 11? Whoa, someone got in the teens. Okay, you know, there are 566 federally recognized tribes. 566, and we at most for now named 11. Federally recognized simply means the United States government is honoring the fact that I'm speaking as a US citizen right now, we went to war with that native nation. 566 will say, yes, we admittedly went to war with you and will federally recognize you as a tribe. But there are way more tribes than that, as Amin just described. But remember, settling requires a certain tension. And when you need to settle the land, you're going to start, yes, 1, you can kill people. 2, you need to push them onto reservation territories. And 3, you have to believe me. I know that you might not identify as an American citizen that is against Native people, but you have to believe me that for a long period in history, Indians were a problem. And Amin, if you can't kill all the people who are a problem for you, and you're running the United States country, what would you do next if you can't kill them?
I would throw them in big prisons, fenced off, barbed wire, and I would set up people with guns, so if you even cross that line, then you were considered hostile and would kill you. Even if you're just going to retrieve a deer, we'll still kill you.
For General Pratt, prisons in the way Amin is talking about it is schools. Read this, take a moment, let's just read this quote together. A great general has said that the only good Indian is a dead one. And in a sense, I agree with that sentiment. But only in this, that all the Indian there is in a race should be dead. Kill the Indian and save the man. Carlisle boarding school, I'm talking about Carlisle, Pennsylvania, an hour and a half away from State College, was one of the first locations of Indian boarding schools that started in 1800. And went on and on through your grandparents' generation. It's not that long ago that these things ended. Let's say here are 2 kids that got taken or put into American Indian boarding schools. And this is what would happen upon their induction. First, I'm going to cut her hair. Right? I'm going to cut her hair. And I'm going to tell her, the language that you speak, you better not speak it. You have to speak English. Okay? And your parents, you can't talk to them anymore. Okay? You're going to be part of this school now. And you can't leave this boarding school. Okay? So feel that, and I just want you to experiment with feeling like you're Amin's sisters. Put yourself in the shoes of Amin's siblings, or maybe even his parents who went through this boarding school era, and then you came out, and you couldn't get a job, and you didn't know your language anymore, and when you went to the reservation, things changed. They changed all around you. Go to the next slide and let's play this video. I want to ask Amin's siblings, how did you feel watching this video just now?
Like, I take what I see from there, and then I take like what I learned in school, and it was like more fleshed out in the video, because like, you know, like in elementary school, they're not going to show too many pictures of like dead people and stuff like that in the textbook, because like they're little kids. So it's like, okay, but then I just feel like bad, like you said, like to imagine like if that was like my family, stuff like that, and it's like, that sucks. Like, I don't have a word like that's more like that sucks. Or like,
yeah, you kind of feel like, whoa, here's a little bit more of the truth, and oh man, that is not a pretty truth.
Yeah, because I was thinking like some of the pictures, like I know like South America and stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of Native American still there, like, and stuff like that. So like some of the pictures, like one of them, it was an older woman, and she looked like my great grandma, and I was like, wait a second, pause. And then like my mom, she told me when she lived in Ecuador, she was like, one of my nannies was like a Native American there, and she would like tell me, like she would talk like in her language and teach her tradition and stuff like that. And I was just thinking about like, if what happened here in America happened as badly in South America, like, she wouldn't even have that experience, or like she wouldn't be able to, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
What did you feel when you saw the malls?
I can't really say how I felt. It was more like, wow, this is America. Like this is what they killed people for, like their own pleasure.
Ooh, they killed people for their own pleasure. Okay.
Yeah, like kind of like going like with the whole like going off the whole pleasure thing. Like I don't know, it made me think of like how like everybody says like Hitler's like the worst dude because he like, you know, had everything like to kill the Jews and stuff like that. But like we did more, and no one thinks about like no one.
We don't
like,
think about that history. We talk about war all over. We just got finished talking with Afghanistan the other day. But hey, let's take a few steps back into this history. So, I'm wondering, do you have another question?
Yeah, earlier when we pulled you in and we cut your hair and we took all your clothes away and all your sacred items and your dolls.
Speak a little.
We took all that away, but mostly we cut your hair.
I know that when you cut someone's hair, it means that someone in their family died. So I'm wondering if my parents are okay, or is like my brother and sister okay?
When my ancestors, those children, went into those boarding schools and they had their hair cut, right away they thought, who died in my family? And the only language you knew, so you asked it in the language, and as soon as you asked who died in your family in your language, it can more or less beat the piss out of you.